Hello and welcome. Picture yourself standing on the snowy shores of a vast, icy land. The biting cold reaches deep into your bones, and an endless blanket of snow stretches across the landscape. The only sound you hear is the whisper of the wind through dense, ancient forests. In this harsh environment, survival isn't just about existing. It's about thriving against all odds, forging a life from the very elements that would leave most others defeated. This is the world of the Ainu people, Japan's indigenous inhabitants of Hokkaido. It's through their extraordinary resilience and resourcefulness that they didn't just survive, they created a vibrant culture, deeply connected to the natural world around them. You're about to dive into their story, and you'll see that the Ainu are not just survivors, they are masters of adaptation, honed by centuries of living in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. The Ainu people have a history that stretches back thousands of years, long before the rise of the modern Japanese state. While much of their history remains shrouded in mystery, what you will learn speaks volumes about their relationship with the land and their incredible survival skills. Hokkaido, known for its frigid winters and rugged terrain, became the perfect testing ground for the Ainu's ingenuity. It's a land where life demands respect, patience, and an intimate understanding of the environment. The Ainu didn't simply live in Hokkaido, they made it their home, flourishing in the forests, rivers, and mountains, learning to read the signs of nature in a way that few cultures ever have. For the Ainu, survival was never passive. It was an active, ongoing process of negotiation with the world around them. They were not just surviving, they were hunters, fishers, foragers, and craftsmen, capable of using every resource at their disposal. From the smallest twig to the mightiest bear, every element of the natural world had a purpose in their lives. Their survival techniques were as much about understanding the land as they were about pure ingenuity. To survive in such a harsh and unpredictable environment, the Ainu developed a deep understanding of the land's rhythm. Their daily lives were marked by their ability to live in harmony with nature, respecting the land while using it for sustenance. For the Ainu, survival wasn't just about securing food and shelter. It was about maintaining a balance with the world around them. Every aspect of their lives, from their beliefs to their survival strategies, was tied to this delicate equilibrium. The Ainu developed unique techniques to adapt to the cold, unforgiving environment of Hokkaido. But these methods weren't just practical, they were reflections of their deep spiritual connection with the world around them. The Ainu lived in constant dialogue with nature, taking only what they needed, never more. Their survival methods were holistic. Hunting, fishing, and foraging weren't just about sustenance, they were rituals carrying deeper spiritual meaning. Every animal they hunted was respected, and every resource they gathered was used thoughtfully. Their survival was not just physical, it was a spiritual practice that connected them to the land in a way that few cultures can claim. In this introduction to the Ainu survival, you'll explore how they adapted to their environment, using skills and knowledge that allowed them to thrive in one of the world's most extreme regions. You'll see how their survival was not just about physical endurance, but about living with a deep respect for nature. The environment of Hokkaido is harsh, especially during the winter months when temperatures can drop to -20 degrees Celsius or even lower. But the Ainu didn't view this as a curse. Instead, they saw it as an opportunity to demonstrate their remarkable resilience. They learned how to live in an environment that would have been too extreme for most others. Their ability to adapt to these harsh conditions wasn't just about enduring the cold, it was about thriving in spite of it. Survival for the Ainu required more than just knowledge of the physical world. It required a spiritual connection to the land and all that inhabited it. Animals weren't seen as mere sources of food, they were respected and even revered. For instance, the bear was considered a sacred animal, and the Ainu performed rituals to honor its spirit before hunting it. Every part of the bear, its fur, bones, and meat was used, ensuring nothing went to waste. This respect for the animal world extended to every aspect of Ainu survival, where sustainability was embedded into their daily lives. The Ainu knew how to read the landscape, when to hunt, when to fish, and where to find the most abundant foraging spots. Their survival was deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the seasons, and their entire way of life was shaped by these cycles. In the summer, you would see them fishing the rivers and lakes, catching salmon and other fish. During autumn, they would hunt deer and bears, using their fur to make warm clothing for the winter. And in the long, bitter winter months, they would take shelter in their traditional homes, called kotan, made from wood and thatch, where they would rest, prepare food, and share stories. As you continue exploring the Ainu survival techniques, you'll see how their ingenuity and deep connection to the land allowed them not only to survive, but to create a culture that still inspires respect for nature's wisdom. From hunting and fishing to foraging, the Ainu's methods of survival were as intricate as they were effective. Their way of life offers valuable lessons in sustainability, respect for nature, and the importance of living in harmony with the environment. Now that you've begun to understand the Ainu's survival strategies, let's dive deeper into the specific methods they use to survive in the harsh environment of Hokkaido. From hunting to fishing, foraging, and utilizing every resource at their disposal, you'll discover how these methods were more than just practical. They were a reflection of their deep spiritual connection to the world around them. Let's embark on a journey through the survival strategies of the Ainu people, one of the most resilient and resourceful cultures to have ever thrived in one of the world's most challenging environments. Imagine stepping into Hokkaido, a land where winter feels eternal. The frigid air bites at your skin, and the ground beneath your feet is blanketed in thick, untouched snow. Temperatures regularly drop well below freezing, often plunging to -20 degrees Celsius or lower during the coldest months. The wind howls across the vast landscapes, sweeping through dense forests and over the rugged mountainous terrain. These mountains, covered in snow year-round, rise sharply against the horizon, creating an imposing landscape that's both beautiful and intimidating. For the Ainu, the geography of Hokkaido wasn't just a backdrop to their lives, it was a defining challenge. The harsh winter climate wasn't something to be feared, but something to be understood, respected, and worked with. Every year, the Ainu would face the brutal cold, the heavy snowfall, and the harsh winds, but they had mastered the art of living within this natural environment. Their survival was a testament to their resilience and adaptability to such a hostile climate. Their survival was a testament to their resilience and adaptability to such a hostile climate. For the Ainu, winter was not just a season, it was a way of life. They didn't see the cold as a barrier, but as a challenge to be mastered, using every skill, every tool, and every bit of knowledge passed down through generations. While the snow might blanket the land, It did not bury their spirit. It was in this very snow, in the stillness of the winter forests and the frozen rivers, that the Ainu found their strength. Living in a land where survival was never guaranteed required more than just physical endurance. The Ainu had learned to read the landscape, to listen to the whispers of the wind, and to understand the seasonal changes in ways that most people could never comprehend. The forests of Hokkaido, dense and full of life in the summer, became quiet and imposing in the winter. The rivers and lakes, teeming with fish during the warmer months, turned into frozen sheets of ice that needed to be carefully navigated. The Ainu knew exactly when and where to hunt, fish, and forage, depending on the time of year. They had an innate understanding of the land and how to use it to survive. The winters were harsh, but they were also a time of community and shared knowledge. In the long, dark months, the Ainu gathered in their homes, or kotan, made of wood, bark, and thatch, where they would share food, stories, and wisdom. The fire at the center of the kotan was not only a source of warmth, but also a symbol of life itself. Around the fire, they taught the younger generations how to survive, passing on the knowledge of how to track game, build shelters, and fish through ice. They shared techniques for preserving food, from drying fish and meat to creating fermented foods that would last through the winter months. The harsh climate of Hokkaido may have made survival difficult, but it also bonded the Ainu in ways that other societies might never have understood, through cooperation, respect, and a deep connection to the land. The Ainu didn't just survive. They thrived in ways that many would consider impossible. Their understanding of the land and its cycles allowed them to turn what seemed like an inhospitable environment into a place of rich culture and tradition. They learned to live in a world where nature was not something to be controlled, but something to be respected and worked with. The Ainu's success in surviving the extreme cold of Hokkaido wasn't just about physical endurance. It was about their relationship with the land, the animals, and each other. In the end, it was this relationship that allowed them to build a way of life that has lasted for centuries, and one that continues to inspire respect and admiration today. As you step further into the world of the Ainu, you'll begin to understand how their survival strategies were not just about surviving the cold, but about mastering it. Their ingenuity in creating shelter, their skill in hunting and fishing, and their understanding of the natural world allowed them to not only survive, but to make a life in one of the coldest, most unforgiving places on Earth. The Ainu's resilience is not just a story of physical endurance, but a story of connection, wisdom, and survival that is still alive in their culture today. Despite its harsh climate, Hokkaido is a land rich in natural resources. You might look around and see snow-covered forests, winding rivers, and crystal-clear lakes. To the Ainu, these weren't just beautiful landscapes, they were the sources of life. The vast forests provided them with wood, herbs, and plants for food and medicine, while the rivers and lakes teemed with fish like salmon and trout. The Ainu were skilled fishermen, making use of the abundance of aquatic life. They knew the best spots for fishing and the right seasons to catch different types of fish. In the forests, they hunted game such as deer and bears, using every part of the animal for food, clothing, and tools. Every resource in Hokkaido, from the smallest twig to the mightiest bear, was used thoughtfully, ensuring nothing went to waste. In a land where resources are scarce, The Ainu's ability to utilize everything the environment had to offer was vital for their survival. It wasn't just about taking what they needed, it was about living sustainably and respecting the land that provided for them. The Ainu's way of life was intricately tied to their environment, and their ability to make the most of the resources around them was not just a matter of necessity, it was a matter of respect. They understood that the land and its creatures were not theirs to own, but rather to coexist with. Each animal they hunted, every plant they gathered, and every river they fished from was treated with reverence. They gave thanks to the spirits of the animals, and when they hunted, they took only what was needed, ensuring that nature could replenish itself. Their deep understanding of the seasons and the cycles of nature helped the Ainu avoid overharvesting. They knew when fish were spawning and when the bears would begin their hibernation, allowing them to hunt and fish sustainably. The forests and rivers didn't just provide food, they provided materials for tools, shelter, and clothing. Animal hides were turned into clothing to protect them from the bitter cold, while bones and antlers were fashioned into weapons, tools, and ornaments. Wood from the trees was used to build homes, make boats, and craft tools. The Ainu's ingenuity was matched only by their respect for the environment. Nothing went to waste. Every part of an animal, every tree, every plant was used thoughtfully and efficiently, ensuring the sustainability of their way of life. Fishing, especially, was an essential part of their diet and survival. The Ainu were expert fishermen, using a variety of techniques depending on the season and the type of fish they sought. They fished in rivers, lakes, and even the sea, using nets, spears, and traps. In winter, they would fish through the ice, a practice that required both skill and patience. They knew the best times to fish, based on the movements of the fish and the temperature of the water. Their fishing was not just a way to feed themselves, it was a ritual, a practice that was passed down through generations. The Ainu celebrated the act of fishing, recognizing it as a sacred part of their relationship with the land. Beyond fishing and hunting, the Ainu also made use of the plants and herbs that grew in the forests. They gathered berries, roots, and medicinal plants, which were used for both nourishment and healing. Some plants were used to make teas or medicines to treat ailments, while others were woven into clothing or used in ceremonies. The forests of Hokkaido were like a vast pharmacy, providing everything the Ainu needed to maintain their health and well-being. In a land where survival was a daily struggle, the Ainu's connection to their environment was not just a matter of practicality, it was the foundation of their entire way of life. They understood that the land was a gift, and they treated it with the utmost care and respect. Their survival was not simply about using the land to get by, it was about living in harmony with it, using what they needed, and leaving enough for future generations. Through their deep understanding of the land, the Ainu were able to create a way of life that allowed them to not only survive, but to thrive in the harshest of conditions. They developed techniques that balanced survival with sustainability, ensuring that they could continue to live off the land without depleting its resources. In doing so, they created a model for living that has much to teach us today about our own relationship with the environment. The Ainu were not just survivors, they were stewards of the land, guardians of the natural world, and their survival was a reflection of their respect for the environment that sustained them. Their ability to use every resource, to take only what was needed, and to live in harmony with nature allowed them to thrive in one of the harshest climates on Earth. And it is through this balance with the land that their culture, wisdom, and way of life have endured for centuries. Surviving the brutal winters of Hokkaido required much more than just basic survival skills. It required a deep understanding of the cold and how to turn it to your advantage. The Ainu's first line of defense against the freezing temperatures was their clothing. Imagine yourself wrapped in layers of thick animal skins and furs, each layer carefully selected for its ability to trap heat and block the biting winds. The Ainu made their clothing from the fur of animals they hunted, using the thickest furs for outer layers and lighter furs for inner layers. This layered clothing kept their bodies warm even in the coldest of temperatures. But clothing was only one part of the equation. The Ainu also built their homes, called kotan, with the same ingenuity. These homes were made from wood, bark, and thatch, designed to trap heat from the fire burning in the center. The kotan's low ceilings and compact design helped retain warmth, while its insulated walls shielded the inhabitants from the freezing wind outside. Inside, the Ainu gathered around the fire to prepare food, share stories, and stay warm. Inside the kotan, the fire was the heart of the home. It wasn't just a source of warmth. It was where the Ainu came together to share food, bond as a community, and keep their spirits high during the long, dark winter nights. The kotan was more than a shelter. It was a place of social connection and survival, where the collective knowledge of generations was passed down, and where families found comfort in the face of the harsh elements outside. The fire, made from carefully gathered wood, kept the kotan warm but also served as the center of daily life. The Ainu used it to cook meals, dry fish and meat, and prepare their hides and skins for clothing. The heat from the fire would seep into the walls of the kotan, warming the space just enough to make it bearable, even in the coldest months. The low ceilings helped trap the rising warmth, making the interior cozy and providing some relief from the freezing temperatures outside. The Ainu's adaptability went beyond their clothing and shelters. They understood how to use their environment to create warmth, utilizing everything at their disposal. Their homes, despite being simple, were meticulously designed to ensure they could survive the brutal winters. The kotan was also strategically built to protect them from the fierce winds that howled across Hokkaido's plains. The thick, insulated walls, made from a combination of wood, bark, and animal hides, acted as a barrier against the cold, while the compact design minimized the space that needed to be heated. But the Ainu didn't just rely on their shelters and clothing to survive. They developed a keen sense of timing and resourcefulness that allowed them to thrive in an environment where others would have struggled to endure. Their seasonal patterns of life were intricately tied to the land, as they understood the best times to hunt, fish, and gather resources in preparation for the harsh winter ahead. Before winter fully set in, the Ainu would ensure their kotan was stocked with preserved food. Fish, meat, and berries were dried or smoked to last through the months when fresh food would be scarce. These foods weren't just practical, they were a vital part of the Ainu's connection to their environment. The act of preserving food for the winter was a way of honoring the land and ensuring that nothing went to waste. This practice reflected the Ainu's respect for nature and their belief in the interdependence of all things. As the winter months dragged on, the Ainu adapted to the changing conditions, using their knowledge of the land to ensure they had enough food, firewood, and materials to survive until the thaw of spring. The long, dark nights gave way to the rhythms of their daily life, a life that was built around the cycles of nature. The Ainu didn't just endure the cold, they made it a part of their existence, adapting to the harshest conditions with resilience and creativity. In this way, survival in Hokkaido wasn't just about fighting against the cold, it was about working with it, respecting it, and using it to strengthen their way of life. Every decision the Ainu made, from the materials they used for shelter to the animals they hunted for clothing, was part of a larger strategy for thriving in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Their clothing, homes, and survival practices were a reflection of their deep connection to the land and their ability to use every resource at their disposal to stay warm, stay safe, and ultimately, stay alive. Surviving in Hokkaido wasn't just about physical adaptations, it was also about living in tune with the rhythms of the seasons. The Ainu's way of life was deeply tied to the cycles of nature, knowing when to hunt, fish, gather, and prepare for the long winters ahead. In the summer months, you would find the Ainu fishing in the rivers and lakes, harvesting the bounty of fresh fish to prepare for the coming cold. During the autumn, they would hunt deer, bears, and smaller game, drying the meat for storage. They gathered berries, herbs, and other plants, storing them in jars and preserving them for the winter. When the snow began to fall, the Ainu would retreat into their kotan, where they would rest, repair their tools, and prepare for the next round of hunting and fishing when spring arrived. This cyclical lifestyle was a form of adaptation itself. The Ainu knew when to conserve energy and when to work hard. They knew how to take advantage of the brief periods of abundance in nature so that they could survive the long, harsh winters. Their entire way of life, built around the seasons, was a perfect reflection of their ability to adapt to and thrive in an environment that demanded constant respect and understanding. As the winter settled in, the Ainu's connection to the land was tested in new ways. The harsh, cold, and heavy snow meant that the rivers and lakes they relied on for fishing would soon freeze over, making it impossible to fish through the ice unless they had prepared early. The thick forests would become more difficult to navigate, and the animals they hunted would either be hibernating or have migrated to less accessible areas. Yet, the Ainu had already prepared for this. The transition to winter was marked by a time of rest, but also by deep reflection. Inside their kotan, the Ainu would gather around the fire, sharing stories, reinforcing bonds with their community, and teaching younger generations the skills they would need for the coming seasons. The winter months were as much a time for reflection and learning as they were for survival. Tools would be repaired or crafted anew, clothing patched up, and the food stores checked and reorganized. In a way, winter was a time of quietude, a necessary pause that allowed the Ainu to prepare for the coming spring, when the cycle of life would begin anew. Throughout this period, the Ainu's knowledge of the land would guide their actions. They understood when to be patient and when to act. They knew the signs that indicated the best times to hunt, when the rivers would thaw, and when to begin fishing and hunting again in the spring. The knowledge passed down through generations of Ainu wasn't just about surviving the seasons, it was about thriving in them, about reading the subtle changes in the environment and using that understanding to shape their daily lives. As the snow began to melt and the first signs of spring appeared, the Ainu would emerge from their kotan, ready to start anew. The rivers would begin to flow once more. Fish would return to the waterways, and the forests would begin to bloom again with new life. The Ainu would take advantage of these fleeting moments of abundance, knowing that the coming months of hunting, fishing, and foraging would ensure they were ready for whatever the next winter would bring. This cyclical approach to life is what allowed the Ainu to survive for so long in such a harsh environment. They didn't try to conquer nature, they adapted to it, living in rhythm with the land and respecting the cycles of life that governed their world. The Ainu's survival wasn't just about enduring the winters, it was about preparing for them, understanding that each season brought its own challenges and rewards. They had mastered the art of living in balance with nature, taking what they needed and giving back to the land in return, ensuring that future generations could continue the same way of life. In the end, the Ainu's survival was more than just a story of physical endurance. It was a story of deep wisdom, respect for the environment, and an intricate understanding of the land that allowed them to thrive. Their way of life, shaped by the rhythms of the seasons, offers a valuable lesson in resilience and sustainability, showing us that survival is not just about weathering the storms, but about finding harmony with the world around us. Imagine yourself deep in the forests of Hokkaido, the cold air biting your skin as you prepare for the hunt. The Ainu were expert hunters, skilled in using a variety of tools to track and capture game. Your primary weapon is the bow and arrow, a tool crafted with care, each arrow perfectly balanced for accuracy. As you move silently through the snow-covered woods, you know the best spots for tracking animals such as deer, bears, and wild boars. The art of hunting was not just about aiming and shooting, it was about understanding the habits and movements of your prey. Alongside your bow, you would use traps to catch smaller game, such as rabbits and birds. These traps, made from branches, twine, and natural materials, would be carefully placed along animal trails. The Ainu used their deep knowledge of animal behavior to set up these traps, ensuring that they were successful in capturing their prey. Every tool used in the hunt had a purpose, and every technique was refined over generations to ensure efficiency and success. The hunt itself required patience, skill, and a deep understanding of the natural world. As you move deeper into the forest, every step is measured, every sound minimized. Your eyes scan the surroundings, watching for signs of movement, footprints in the snow, broken branches, or the rustling of leaves. The Ainu didn't simply rely on their tools, they relied on their ability to read the land. The forest wasn't just a place where they hunted, it was a living map that told them where the animals had been, when they would likely appear, and which paths they traveled. Your bow is light in your hands, the string taut with tension, ready for the perfect shot. But hunting isn't just about the weapon in your hands. It's about the patience you cultivate over time. As you wait, you feel the rhythm of the forest, the way it breathes, how the snowflakes fall in an almost sacred silence. The Ainu learn to be patient hunters, knowing that the best opportunities come not when you rush, but when you understand the flow of life around you. In the wild, every moment is fleeting, and each animal has its own rhythm. To hunt successfully, the Ainu needed to align their own movements with the pulse of the forest. When you finally spot your prey, a deer moving cautiously through the trees, the moment is not rushed. You pause, studying the animal's movements, calculating the right moment to release your arrow. A slight shift in the deer's posture tells you it is unsure, perhaps hearing something in the distance. You know that if you're patient, it will turn to face you, giving you the shot you need. The Ainu's skill in hunting went beyond physical ability. It was an art built on a profound knowledge of animal behavior. They understood that every creature had its own language, its own signs, its own instincts. Hunting wasn't just about the kill. It was about honoring the animal's life and acknowledging the deep connection between the hunter and the hunted. After a successful hunt, the Ainu would offer thanks to the spirit of the animal, ensuring that the animal's soul would rest peacefully and the hunter would not take more than was needed. As you successfully take down your prey, the task isn't complete. The work of the hunt continues as you begin the careful process of field dressing the animal, using every part of it. The meat is carefully prepared for preservation, often smoked or dried to ensure it will last through the winter months. The hide is stripped with respect and turned into clothing. The bones are carefully harvested to make tools, and the antlers may be used for crafting. The Ainu wasted nothing not because they had to, but because they understood the sacredness of the land and the animals they relied on. The use of traps was equally vital for the Ainu, especially when hunting smaller game. Imagine setting up a trap, the sharp scent of the forest mixed with the earthy aroma of the soil. Your traps are cleverly designed, using natural materials like twine, branches, and stones. Each one is placed along the paths where smaller animals, like rabbits or birds, are most likely to pass. The Ainu's knowledge of animal behavior was so refined that they knew exactly where to set their traps, how to time them, and what kind of bait would attract their prey. You walk back to your koton with your catch, the quiet satisfaction of the hunt settling in. As you prepare for the upcoming cold months, you know that the skills passed down through generations have not only ensured survival, but have deepened your connection to the land. The hunt, with all its patience and precision, is a reminder of the Ainu's bond with nature, a relationship rooted in respect, sustainability, and wisdom. In the Ainu culture, hunting was not just a way to provide for the community, it was a spiritual practice, an acknowledgement of the sacredness of life. The tools and techniques they used were a blend of necessity and reverence, passed down through countless generations to ensure that they would always live in balance with the world around them. Through their hunting, the Ainu didn't just survive, they thrived, maintaining a way of life that allowed them to live in harmony with the forces of nature that were often both their greatest challenge and their most vital resource. Once the hunt was over, the role of the animal did not end with its death. The Ainu used every part of the animal, from its meat to its bones and fur. Imagine preparing a freshly caught deer. Its meat would be dried or smoked to provide food for the coming months. The fat would be rendered down to create oil, which could be used for cooking or lighting lamps. But the Ainu didn't just rely on the meat for sustenance. They also used the animal's fur and skin to create clothing. The clothing made from animal fur was essential for survival in the cold climate of Hokkaido. You'd wear a jacket made of thick bear hide, and your shoes would be crafted from the skin of a deer. These garments not only kept you warm, but were also durable and functional for the rigorous demands of life in the wild. In addition to clothing, the bones and antlers of the animals were used to make tools such as knives, spears, and needles. These tools were vital for hunting, fishing, and even the construction of shelters. Every part of the animal was used thoughtfully, ensuring that nothing went to waste. The Ainu's resourcefulness in using every part of the animals they hunted allowed them to live sustainably in a harsh environment. The Ainu's ability to use every part of the animal was not just a matter of practicality, it was also an expression of respect. For them, the life of the animal was sacred, and they honored it by ensuring that nothing was wasted. After a successful hunt, the Ainu would carefully process the animal, taking great care to utilize each part in ways that contributed to their survival. This deep respect for the animals they hunted formed the foundation of their survival strategies, as well as their cultural beliefs. The fur, in addition to clothing, could be used to create blankets, ropes, and even bags. Imagine wrapping yourself in a blanket made of bear fur, the thick, insulating material keeping you warm through the frigid nights. The Ainu would also use the fur to line their shelters, adding another layer of protection from the cold. They even crafted intricate decorative items from the fur and bones, weaving their artistic expression into the very materials that kept them alive. The bones of the animals, too, were a treasure trove of resources. The Ainu were skilled at crafting tools from bones, antlers, and horns. These materials were shaped into knives, scrapers, and fishing hooks, all of which were essential for day-to-day life in Hokkaido. Antlers from deer or moose could be carved into spearheads, while bones were often turned into needles or awls for sewing. The Ainu didn't just use these bones for hunting or fishing. They also fashioned them into utensils, combs, and even ceremonial items. Each tool was crafted with care, ensuring that it was durable and functional, capable of withstanding the demands of life in the wild. The sinew from the animal was another invaluable resource. Strong and flexible, sinew was used to make durable cords for tying, stitching, and even constructing traps. The Ainu were masters of utilizing this material to create intricate nets for fishing or to secure items in place. It was not just a tool for survival. It was a material that allowed them to maintain control over their environment, making it possible to thrive in even the most difficult conditions. The skulls of larger animals, particularly the bear, held significant spiritual importance. The Ainu believed that the soul of the animal lived on even after its death, and they would carefully preserve the skull as a mark of respect. The bear, especially, was considered a sacred animal, and its skull was often displayed in the kotan or in sacred spaces as part of rituals. The Ainu believed that the spirit of the bear would guide and protect them, ensuring their continued success in hunting. The use of every part of the animal in such a thoughtful, sustainable way reflected the Ainu's deep understanding of their environment. It wasn't just about survival, it was about living in harmony with the natural world. The Ainu didn't take more than what they needed. Instead, they used everything the animal provided and made sure that nothing was wasted. This practice allowed them to survive in one of the harshest climates on Earth while maintaining a deep spiritual connection to the creatures they relied on for sustenance. In this way, hunting was not merely a means to acquire food, it was a sacred act, a profound exchange between the hunter and the hunted. The Ainu's reverence for the animals they hunted, coupled with their resourcefulness in using every part of the animal, ensured that they not only survived, but thrived in the unforgiving wilderness of Hokkaido. This respectful, sustainable approach to life in the wild became a cornerstone of Ainu culture, one that continues to inspire awe and admiration for their profound wisdom and deep connection to the natural world. Imagine yourself standing by the edge of a river, watching the water flow calmly beneath a pale sky. The Ainu were expert fishermen, utilizing a variety of tools and techniques to catch the abundant fish that swam in the rivers, lakes, and seas of Hokkaido. As you prepare to fish, you gather your tools, nets, spears, and your trusted fishing rod. The Ainu didn't rely on just one method. They knew the best tools and techniques for different seasons and types of fish. During the warmer months, you'd use nets to catch fish like salmon and trout. These nets were made from natural fibers, woven carefully by hand, and were designed to trap fish as they swam through the currents. Sometimes, you would spear fish with sharp, finely crafted spears, using your knowledge of the fish's behavior and the movement of the water to ensure accuracy. In winter, the rivers and lakes would freeze over, making fishing more challenging. But the Ainu had mastered the art of ice fishing, cutting holes in the thick ice to fish through. Using long spears, you would carefully reach through the ice, feeling for fish in the cold waters below. The art of fishing wasn't just about skill, it was about patience, timing, and an intimate understanding of the rhythms of the water. Every year, the Ainu adapted their methods to the changing seasons, ensuring they always had access to the fish they needed to survive. As you stand there, the river flowing quietly before you, your focus sharpens. You can feel the weight of the tradition behind each motion, each technique passed down from generation to generation. The Ainu's fishing skills were honed over centuries, shaped by an intimate understanding of the natural world around them. In the warmer months, as the river comes alive with the rush of fish, you cast your net with precision, knowing the exact timing when the fish are most abundant. You wait for the right moment when the current is gentle, when the fish are swimming close to the shore, and with one swift motion, you pull the net through the water, trapping the fish within its fibers. The net, woven by hand from natural materials like hemp or plant fibers, is strong but fine enough to catch the fish without harming them. The Ainu understood that fishing wasn't just about the catch, it was about respecting the life that was being taken. They believed that every fish, like every animal they hunted, had a spirit. By using the fish in ways that honored its sacrifice, the Ainu ensured that their relationship with nature remained balanced. The fish were not merely food, they were a vital part of the cycle of life, and the Ainu approached each catch with reverence. As the seasons change and the temperatures drop, you prepare for the challenges of winter fishing. The once flowing river is now a solid sheet of ice, stretching endlessly across the landscape. This change in the environment requires adaptation, and the Ainu, with their deep knowledge of the land, have mastered ice fishing. You gather your tools, long, sharp spears and ice picks, and begin to carve a hole through the thick ice. The process is slow, but you know that patience is key. Once the hole is cut, you use your spear to carefully reach through the water, sensing the movement of fish below. Fishing through the ice requires a different set of skills. It's not just about speed or strength. It's about understanding the subtle movements of the water beneath the surface. You must feel the vibrations of the fish, the slightest shift in the current that might indicate their presence. The cold is biting, but your concentration keeps you warm, and with a well-placed spear, you catch the fish that will nourish your family through the long winter months. This practice of ice fishing, though difficult, is a testament to the Ainu's resilience and resourcefulness. They didn't simply adapt to the environment, they became one with it, mastering even its most unforgiving aspects. Whether it was through the nets in the summer or the spears through the ice in the winter, The Ainu's ability to fish year-round ensured that they had a steady supply of food, even when the land seemed frozen and barren. Each catch, whether from the flowing rivers or through the frozen lakes, was carefully processed. The fish were smoked, dried, or salted, ensuring that there would always be food during the harshest of winters. The Ainu were skilled in preserving their catch, using every part of the fish. The meat would be stored for later, while the bones and scales could be used to make tools or ornaments. Nothing went to waste. This deep connection to the rhythms of the water, the fish, and the seasons allowed the Ainu to not just survive, but to thrive in the difficult, ever-changing climate of Hokkaido. They learned to live in harmony with the environment, taking only what was necessary and always giving thanks for what the river and the land provided. Through their fishing practices, the Ainu created a sustainable way of life that balanced the needs of the people with the health of the ecosystem. They knew that the fish were more than just a resource. They were part of a greater cycle of life, and their survival was linked to the health of the rivers, lakes, and seas. By respecting the land and its creatures, the Ainu ensured that their way of life would continue for generations to come. Fishing was not just a way to provide sustenance, it was a cornerstone of the Ainu diet. Fish, especially salmon, played a critical role in the Ainu's survival, offering a rich source of protein and nutrients. Imagine catching a fresh salmon as it swims upstream, its silver scales gleaming in the sunlight. You know, this fish will not only provide food for today, but will help feed your community for months to come. Salmon was the most prized catch of all, and its abundance in the rivers of Hokkaido made it a vital part of the Ainu diet. The Ainu didn't simply eat the fish fresh. They also preserved it for the long, cold winter months. The fish would be dried or smoked, ensuring that there was always enough to eat when the rivers were frozen and fresh fish could no longer be caught. The meat of the fish was often stored in large quantities, carefully hung in drying racks or packed into containers for preservation. In addition to salmon, other fish such as trout and whitefish were caught and similarly preserved. The Ainu also made use of smaller sea creatures, such as shellfish and seaweed, which added variety to their diet and helped provide essential nutrients during the long winters. The process of preserving the fish was just as important as the catch itself. The Ainu had perfected methods of drying, smoking, and fermenting their fish to ensure they would have enough sustenance throughout the winter. Imagine the scent of freshly caught salmon being dried in the cool, crisp air or smoked over an open fire. The Ainu understood that preserving their food wasn't just a practical necessity. It was a way to ensure they could survive when the land was covered in snow and fishing became impossible. Hanging the fish in racks or packing it away in containers, the Ainu would let the air dry out the moisture, locking in the nutrients and flavor. The fish would be stored in cool, dry places, ready to be used as needed. The smoking process added another layer of preservation, imparting a rich, smoky flavor that would remind the Ainu of the bounty of the rivers even when the cold winter months set in. This technique was also crucial for ensuring that fish didn't spoil, giving the Ainu a reliable food source throughout the long, harsh winters. In addition to the larger fish, the Ainu also made use of smaller sea creatures, such as shellfish, seaweed, and various freshwater fish. These items may not have been as large as salmon or trout, but they provided essential variety and nutrients to their diet. Seaweed, rich in minerals and vitamins, was an important addition to the Ainu's meals. It could be eaten fresh or dried for later use, adding flavor to their stews or serving as a nutritious side dish. Shellfish, such as clams and mussels, were gathered along the coasts and in the rivers, providing a tasty and protein-rich supplement to their diet. Even the smallest creatures in the water played a role in the Ainu's survival. For the Ainu, fish wasn't just food, it was a way of life. It represented not only the lifeblood of their survival, but also a deep spiritual connection to the rivers and the creatures that lived within them. Fishing, as with hunting, was a ritual, a practice that carried meaning beyond just the physical act of catching food. It was a sacred exchange between the Ainu and the land, where gratitude and respect were integral parts of the process. The Ainu believed that the fish, like the animals they hunted, had a spirit. By fishing with respect and honoring the spirit of the fish, they ensured that their efforts would be successful and that the cycle of life in the rivers would continue. The act of fishing was woven into the spiritual fabric of Ainu culture, a practice that was passed down through generations. It was not just about feeding the body, but nourishing the soul, maintaining a relationship of mutual respect between humans and the creatures that sustain them. The preservation of fish also had practical benefits. It allowed the Ainu to build up stores of food during the abundant months of spring and summer, so that they would not go hungry when the winter months came and the rivers froze over. The preserved fish became a staple of the Ainu diet throughout the winter, providing essential protein and nutrients during a time when fresh food was scarce. This ability to store food and plan ahead for the winter months was key to the Ainu's ability to survive in such a challenging environment. As you learn more about the Ainu's fishing practices, it becomes clear that their relationship with the rivers and the fish was not just a matter of sustenance, it was a holistic approach to survival. From the tools they used to the spiritual connection they maintained with the animals they fished, the Ainu's fishing practices were an integral part of their culture, ensuring not just physical survival, but spiritual and cultural continuity. Through their careful preservation techniques and sustainable fishing methods, the Ainu thrived in one of the harshest climates on Earth, ensuring that future generations would continue to live in harmony with the land and its creatures. While fishing was essential for the Ainu's survival, they also understood the importance of preserving the resources they depended on. Sustainability was a key aspect of Ainu culture, and their fishing practices were deeply tied to this value. The Ainu believed in taking only what they needed and ensuring that the fish populations could continue to thrive. Before fishing, you would take time to offer thanks to the fish and ask for their spirit to guide the hunt. This spiritual connection to the fish was central to Ainu fishing practices, and by giving thanks, they ensured that the fish would continue to be abundant in the future. The Ainu did not overfish or take more than what was necessary. They knew that the health of the ecosystem was fragile, and by taking only what they needed, they allowed nature to regenerate and provide for future generations. The Ainu were also careful about how they fished, ensuring that their methods were sustainable and would not deplete the fish stocks. They carefully timed their fishing to coincide with the fish's natural cycles, only harvesting fish when it was necessary and when the populations were abundant. By practicing these methods, the Ainu maintained a delicate balance with the natural world, ensuring that their fishing practices would not harm the environment. The Ainu's careful approach to fishing was not just about the number of fish they caught, but about the timing and method they used to ensure sustainability. You would learn to fish in harmony with the natural rhythms of the river, understanding that fish, like all creatures, had cycles of migration and breeding. The Ainu would often wait for the right season, when the fish were most abundant and healthy, to harvest them. This practice not only allowed the fish population to regenerate, but also ensured that the Ainu were taking only what was needed for survival, without overwhelming the ecosystem. The Ainu also respected the natural limits of the rivers and lakes. They didn't fish in areas where fish populations were low, or during times when the fish were spawning. In this way, they prevented overfishing and ensured that the rivers remained healthy and capable of sustaining future generations. Their respect for these natural cycles helped maintain the delicate balance between human needs and the environment. In addition to timing, the Ainu were careful about the tools and techniques they used. They made sure that their nets were properly sized to avoid trapping smaller, immature fish that hadn't had the chance to reproduce. This attention to detail helped maintain the fish populations, allowing the rivers to continue providing for the Ainu without depleting the resource. Similarly, the use of spears was done with precision, ensuring that the fish were caught without unnecessary harm to the ecosystem. Fishing was never seen as a right or entitlement. It was a privilege and a responsibility. The Ainu understood that by maintaining respect for the fish and their habitat, they were ensuring not just their own survival, but the survival of future generations. This belief in sustainability extended beyond fishing. It was a core principle that permeated all aspects of Ainu life, from hunting to foraging. They took only what they needed, left the rest for the land and water to replenish, and ensured that the natural world could continue to provide for them in the years to come. As you reflect on the Ainu's sustainable fishing practices, you see that their survival was not a matter of simply taking from nature, it was about living in balance with it. By understanding the importance of regeneration and taking only what was necessary, the Ainu created a way of life that allowed them to thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their approach to fishing, along with their respect for the land and its creatures, offers valuable lessons for us today in how to live sustainably and in harmony with the world around us. Through their sustainable practices, the Ainu ensured that the rivers would continue to run, the fish would continue to spawn, and their culture would continue to flourish. Their fishing was not just a means of survival, it was a way of honoring the interconnectedness of all life, ensuring that the delicate balance between humans and the natural world would endure for generations to come. Fishing was a communal activity for the Ainu, and it required cooperation and shared knowledge. Families and communities would work together to catch, prepare, and preserve the fish. As you head out with your family to fish, you know that each person has a role to play. Some may set the nets, while others prepare the traps, and still others might watch over the children. The success of the hunt, whether in the water or on land, depended on everyone working together. The Ainu passed down their fishing techniques and wisdom from one generation to the next. As a child, you would learn from your elders how to set the nets, how to use the spears, and how to read the signs of the river. This knowledge wasn't just practical, it was a way of life. Fishing was a shared tradition that bound the community together, creating a sense of unity and interdependence. Each successful fishing season ensured that the Ainu would be able to thrive, not just as individuals, but as a community that understood the importance of living in harmony with nature. As you grow older, you learn that fishing isn't just about the catch, it's about the shared experience of working together. There's a rhythm to it, a dance between the people and the land. where every action, from setting the nets to preparing the fish, is interconnected. You understand that the task of gathering food from the river isn't solely the responsibility of the strongest or the most skilled. It's a communal effort where every person, young or old, plays an important role. Each action, whether it's preparing the bait, mending a net, or cooking the catch, is a crucial part of the process. The Ainu's fishing practices embodied the belief that survival is not only about individual strength, but about collective cooperation and respect for the community. Fishing wasn't just an activity, it was a way of life that tied each generation to the next. The stories, techniques, and knowledge passed down from elders to children were essential for survival. As a child, you would sit around the fire, listening to the elders recount stories of past fishing expeditions, explaining the ebb and flow of the river, and how to read the patterns in the water. You learned how to understand the signs that fish were near, the best places to fish, and when it was the right time to set the nets or cast the spears. The lessons weren't just about the technical skills required to fish. They were about learning the values of patience, teamwork, and respect for the natural world. In your community, fishing was seen as a bond that united everyone. It wasn't just about feeding the family, it was about ensuring that everyone, from the smallest child to the oldest elder, could contribute to the collective well-being. The act of fishing and sharing in the catch created a sense of unity, reinforcing the belief that the Ainu survived not only through individual skill, but through their deep connection to each other and the land. As the fishing season comes to an end and the catch is stored away for the winter, you understand that the food you've gathered, along with the memories of the season's efforts, will sustain your community throughout the cold months. The fish, preserved and carefully stored, represent not just nourishment, but the effort and cooperation of the entire group. The shared work and shared meals bind everyone together, reinforcing the communal spirit that is at the heart of Ainu culture. Fishing, for the Ainu, was never a solitary pursuit. It was a collective endeavor that defined their relationship to the environment and to each other. Through fishing, the Ainu not only ensured their survival, but also maintained a vital connection to their traditions, their community, and the natural world that provided for them. This interdependence between the people and the land was at the core of their philosophy of living in harmony with nature, a way of life that allowed them to endure and thrive in the harshest of environments. As you reflect on this tradition, you realize that fishing was far more than a means to fill the stomach. It was a practice that reinforced the Ainu's values of respect, cooperation, and sustainability. It taught that the strength of a community lies in its ability to work together, to share knowledge, and to honor the environment that sustains them. Through fishing, the Ainu created a legacy that continues to speak to the power of unity and respect for the land. As you sit back and watch the community settle into the rhythm of the season's work, you realize that fishing is a reflection of the Ainu's entire way of life. Every step of the process, from preparing the tools to sharing the harvest, reinforces the belief that survival is not just an individual pursuit, but a communal responsibility. Each person, whether young or old, plays a vital part, and their collective effort ensures the prosperity of the whole community. Fishing brings them together in a way that highlights the interdependence between individuals, nature, and the shared culture that binds them. You witness how the bonds within the community are strengthened with each passing season, Families gather, sometimes even crossing rivers or traveling through snowy landscapes to participate in the harvest. It's not just about the physical work, it's about the exchange of stories, the transmission of wisdom, and the moments of shared joy and hardship that come with each successful catch. As the fish are cleaned, dried, and prepared, you see the collective pride in their shared success. The Ainu's communal approach to life, forged through generations of fishing together, reminds you of the strength that comes from unity. The elders continue to pass down the wisdom of fishing, teaching the younger generation not just how to fish, but how to live in harmony with the land. You learn that every action in the fishing process carries meaning, from setting the traps in places where the river bends, to knowing the exact moment when the salmon are most likely to be caught. Every step of the process is an expression of deep understanding and respect for nature. The Ainu didn't just take from the rivers. They observed, listened, and learned from the land, adapting their methods to ensure they would never deplete the resources they depended on. This practice of learning from the environment and maintaining balance is central to the Ainu philosophy of sustainability. As the winter months approach and the community gathers around the fire, you reflect on how fishing, as much as it is about survival, is also a time for renewal. The fish caught and preserved will nourish the Ainu through the cold, harsh months. The seasonal cycle of fishing ensures that the community's needs are met, but also reinforces the idea that the people and the land must coexist in harmony. By taking only what they need and making sure to give thanks for the fish, the Ainu are reaffirming their respect for the natural world, ensuring that the rivers will continue to provide year after year. Fishing is much more than an act of survival. It is an embodiment of the Ainu's worldview, one that values cooperation, sustainability, and a profound connection to the land. The community's unity in fishing reflects their unity in all aspects of life. Whether they are working together to hunt, forage, or build, the Ainu understand that only through cooperation and respect for nature can they continue to thrive. In the simple act of fishing, they find not just sustenance, but a deeper meaning, an ongoing relationship with the world around them, built on shared knowledge, respect, and mutual care. Through this cyclical process, the Ainu reinforce a way of life that has endured for generations. The lessons learned from fishing, patience, cooperation, sustainability, serve as a model for living in harmony with the environment. It is this balance, this intricate dance between human and nature, that has allowed the Ainu to survive and thrive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. The communal spirit fostered by fishing is just one part of the greater tapestry that is the Ainu culture, where every individual plays a role, every action carries meaning, and every part of the land is respected and honored. As you look forward to the coming months, knowing that the community will continue to work together, you understand that the survival of the Ainu people depends not just on individual efforts, but on their collective commitment to preserving the land and its resources for future generations. Through fishing, they have woven a bond that will keep them united and connected to the land for centuries to come. Fishing wasn't just a way for the Ainu to feed themselves. It was a way to live in harmony with the land and the creatures that sustained them. Through their sustainable fishing practices, their deep respect for the animals, and their communal approach to hunting and gathering, the Ainu thrived in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their fishing techniques allowed them to not only survive, but to live in balance with nature, ensuring that the rivers, lakes, and seas would continue to provide for generations to come. Through fishing, the Ainu learned the importance of respect, sustainability, and the delicate balance that must exist between human beings and the natural world. Through fishing, the Ainu understood that survival was not just about taking from nature, but about giving back to it as well. They practiced a profound respect for the natural world, recognizing that the health of the rivers, lakes, and seas was intrinsically tied to their own well-being. By ensuring that they never over-harvested or exploited the resources available to them, the Ainu maintained a balance that allowed the natural world to regenerate and continue providing the sustenance they needed. The Ainu's fishing practices were deeply rooted in a philosophy of sustainability, one that saw humans as part of a much larger ecosystem. They knew that the land and its creatures were not commodities to be used up, but living partners in their survival. The Ainu understood that in order to continue thriving, they needed to be stewards of the environment, carefully managing the resources they relied on and allowing the land to heal and replenish itself. This wisdom was passed down from generation to generation, ensuring that future Ainu communities would inherit a world that was as abundant as the one their ancestors had known. Fishing also reinforced the communal bonds that were so central to Ainu society. The act of fishing, whether it was done in the rivers, lakes, or seas, brought families and communities together. Each person had a role to play. Some would prepare the nets, others would scout for the best fishing spots, and still others would tend to the fires that preserved the catch. It was a shared effort, one that reinforced the idea that survival was a collective endeavor. The success of the fishing season wasn't just about the quantity of the catch, it was about the strength of the community that worked together to secure it. This communal spirit, this sense of unity and shared responsibility was as essential to the Ainu's survival as any tool or technique. The Ainu's approach to fishing and sustainability is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance that exists between humans and nature. It serves as a model for how we might live in harmony with the environment, taking only what is necessary and ensuring that future generations will inherit a world that is as rich in resources as the one we enjoy today. The Ainu's practices teach us that living sustainably is not just about preserving resources, it's about understanding our place within the natural world and respecting the systems that allow us to thrive. As the seasons change and the rivers run with fresh fish, the Ainu's bond with nature remains unbroken. Their fishing techniques, developed over centuries, continue to guide them, ensuring that they live in balance with the world around them. The respect they show for the animals they catch, the care they take in preserving the land, and the unity they foster within their communities are all part of a legacy that has withstood the test of time. Through fishing, the Ainu have not only survived, but flourished, demonstrating that sustainability, respect, and cooperation are the keys to thriving in the most challenging of environments. As you reflect on the Ainu's way of life, you can see that their wisdom offers valuable lessons for all of us today. In a world where resources are finite, where the environment faces increasing challenges, the Ainu's practices remind us that the path to a sustainable future lies in living in harmony with nature, understanding that we are part of the natural world, not separate from it. Through their fishing, the Ainu have shown us that survival is not just about taking what we need, but ensuring that what we take is always given back. Only through this balance can we ensure that the rivers, lakes, and seas will continue to provide for generations to come. Imagine walking through the dense, towering forests of Hokkaido. The air is fresh with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the ground beneath your feet is soft with moss and fallen leaves. As you step carefully, your eyes scan the forest floor for signs of edible plants, mushrooms, and roots. The Ainu were experts in foraging, with a profound understanding of which plants were safe to eat and when they should be gathered. You spot a patch of wild herbs, perhaps yomogi, Japanese mugwort, known for its medicinal properties and used to flavor food. Nearby, clusters of wild berries are ready for harvest, their vibrant colors signaling their ripeness. Berries, such as sawara and blueberries, were a prized treat during summer months and were often dried for later use. Mushrooms, too, were abundant in the forests, with varieties like shiitake or matsutake growing on the decaying logs of old trees. The Ainu knew how to identify edible mushrooms, avoiding poisonous varieties with precision and care. Root vegetables, such as gobo, burdock root, could be found digging deep into the soil. You'd carefully pull up the roots, knowing they would provide essential nutrients. These wild plants, mushrooms, and roots were not only a supplement to the diet, but also a part of the Ainu's connection to the land. They were treated with respect, just like the animals the Ainu hunted. The plants weren't just food, they were part of a living, breathing ecosystem, and harvesting them was a ritual that ensured the survival of both humans and nature. As you continue through the forest, you carefully select each plant, mindful of the balance between taking what is needed and ensuring the forest can regenerate. The Ainu's relationship with the land wasn't one of exploitation, but of mutual respect. Each plant, each mushroom, was seen as a gift from the earth, and the Ainu knew that over-harvesting would disrupt the delicate harmony they had established with nature. You can feel the weight of this responsibility as you move from one patch of wild plants to another, taking only what you need, leaving the rest to grow and thrive. You find a patch of warabi, bracken fern, the young, tender fronds perfect for harvesting. Carefully, you pull them from the soil, knowing they will provide both food and medicinal properties. These plants, which are both nutritious and versatile, would be used in a variety of dishes, from soups to stews. The roots, too, hold value not just as food, but as a vital part of the cycle of life, returning nutrients to the soil when harvested carefully. Your eyes then catch a glimpse of gobo, burdock root, its long, slender stalks peeking from beneath the soil. You kneel down, using your hands to dig it out gently, ensuring you don't damage the root. Gobo is not only a key nutritional source for the Ainu, but it also serves as a symbol of resilience, having adapted to grow in the challenging conditions of Hokkaido's soil. As you hold the root in your hand, you are reminded of the importance of each part of the ecosystem, the plants, the soil, and the people who have lived with and respected this land for generations. As you gather these foraged plants, you make sure to store them carefully. You'll dry the berries and mushrooms, preserving them for the cold, barren months ahead. The gobo and warabi will be eaten fresh, but any surplus will be dried or preserved through fermentation. The knowledge of how to preserve these plants is essential to surviving the harsh winters, and the Ainu have perfected this skill over centuries. When you reach the river's edge, you pause for a moment to look at the landscape around you. The Ainu knew how to read the land, how to track seasonal changes in the plants, how to know when berries would ripen, or when the mushrooms would be at their peak. This knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, forming the basis of the Ainu's survival practices. It was more than just practical knowledge, it was a spiritual understanding, a belief that living in harmony with nature required awareness, patience, and respect. You take a deep breath, feeling the connection to the land and its rhythms. Foraging is not just about collecting food, it's about being in tune with the world around you, recognizing the delicate balance that sustains life. Every plant you gather is a small part of a much larger system, and your role is to take only what is needed, to give thanks, and to ensure that the land remains fertile and abundant for future generations. With your baskets now filled, you begin your journey back to the kotan, where the community is waiting. As you walk, you feel the weight of tradition on your shoulders, this knowledge of the land, of the plants, and the delicate dance of foraging and preserving is what has allowed the Ainu to thrive in this rugged landscape for centuries. The plants and herbs you've gathered today will help nourish not just your body, but also your connection to the earth. As you return to your village, you are reminded that survival is not just about taking, it's about living in balance with nature, ensuring that the land will continue to provide for generations to come. In the warmth of the kotan, the gathered food will be shared, prepared, and preserved, ensuring that the community will stay nourished through the long winter. The Ainu's foraging practices, passed down through the generations, reflect not just a way of survival, but a philosophy that binds them to the land in a way that few other cultures have ever known. Through their knowledge of plants, their sustainable harvesting practices, and their deep respect for nature, the Ainu have created a way of life that has allowed them to thrive, even in one of the harshest environments on Earth. As you gather the bounty from the forest, you know that this food will sustain you through the long, cold winter months. In Hokkaido, winter meant that fresh food would be scarce, so preserving what you gathered during the warmer months was essential. The Ainu were skilled in drying and fermenting wild food to extend its shelf life. Wild berries, herbs, and mushrooms would be carefully dried by hanging them in the sun or over smoke from the fire. This drying process helped lock in the nutrients and flavor, ensuring they could be consumed long after the harvest. Roots and vegetables, too, were dried or stored in cool, dry places to preserve them through the winter. In addition to drying, the Ainu practiced fermentation, which allowed them to store foods like vegetables and certain grains for longer periods. For example, koji, fermented rice, was used to preserve foods, while wild mushrooms might be fermented to enhance their flavor and ensure they wouldn't spoil. This technique wasn't just practical, it was also part of a broader cultural practice. Fermented foods played a key role in the Ainu diet, providing both sustenance and a connection to traditional methods of food preparation that had been passed down for generations. Through these preservation techniques, the Ainu ensured they had enough food to last through the harshest months, when the rivers froze over and the forests were blanketed in snow. What was gathered in the warm months became a vital part of surviving the cold. As the weather grows colder and the first snow begins to fall, you can feel the weight of the food you've carefully preserved. The dried berries, herbs, and mushrooms are stored in woven baskets, ready to be added to stews or used in teas when the long winter nights stretch on. The roots, now dehydrated and preserved, will provide vital sustenance when fresh vegetables are no longer available. You know that these simple but carefully prepared foods will keep your community healthy and strong, even when the cold makes it impossible to gather anything from the wild. The art of fermentation is also at the heart of this process. You can smell the earthy aroma of koji fermented rice being used to preserve vegetables like satoimo, taro root, and gobo, burdock root. The process is slow, but the end result is a valuable, long-lasting food source that not only keeps you nourished, but also enhances the flavor of every dish. Fermentation is more than just a method of preservation. It's a cultural practice, passed down through generations, one that connects you to your ancestors. Through fermentation, you are not just preparing food for the winter, you are continuing a tradition that ties your family to the land and its cycles. In the kotan, as the fire crackles in the center, the community comes together to prepare and share the bounty. The preservation of food wasn't just an individual task, it was a communal effort. You and your family work side by side, drying fish, cutting roots into manageable pieces, and packing them into containers for storage. The shared labor, along with the stories told around the fire, strengthens the bonds between people, reminding you that survival in this harsh environment depends on cooperation and mutual support. The preservation of food, whether through drying, smoking, or fermenting, is not just about storing food for the future, it's also about a deep respect for the resources you have. By taking only what is necessary and ensuring nothing goes to waste, the Ainu ensured that the land could continue to provide for them in the future. This practice of sustainable harvesting and preserving allowed the Ainu to thrive year after year, even in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. The Ainu's ability to adapt to the seasons through their careful foraging and food preservation techniques was a critical aspect of their survival. They had an intimate understanding of the land's cycles, knowing when to gather and how to preserve food so that it would last through the lean months. The act of preserving wasn't just a practical task, it was also a reflection of the Ainu's relationship with nature. Every preserved berry, dried mushroom, and jar of fermented vegetables represented a bond between the people and the land that provided for them. As you sit by the fire, the cold wind howling outside, you can take comfort in knowing that the community's efforts to gather, preserve, and share the food will see you through until the first thaw of spring. The food you've worked so hard to gather will continue to nourish your body and sustain your spirit throughout the winter months. The preservation techniques passed down by your ancestors have ensured that, despite the harshness of the environment, you will always have enough to eat, and that the land and its creatures will continue to provide for you in the future. This practice of preserving food, born from the Ainu's deep understanding of the land and its cycles, shows just how well they adapted to their environment. They didn't just survive the winter, they thrived in it, creating a lifestyle that was sustainable, respectful, and deeply connected to nature. Through their careful preservation of food, the Ainu ensured their survival for generations, and this knowledge of how to live in balance with the land remains a valuable lesson for us all. The Ainu understood that foraging was not something that could be done at any time. The rhythm of the forest and the land followed the seasons, and the availability of wild food changed with each one. You knew that the forest would offer different treasures as the year went on, and timing was everything. In spring, young shoots and tender leaves would begin to emerge, providing a burst of fresh food after the long winter. Takenoko, bamboo shoots, and warabi, bracken fern, were among the first plants to appear, and you would gather them early to enjoy the delicate flavors. In summer, the abundance of berries, herbs, and mushrooms would provide plenty of fresh food, and this was the time when you would focus on drying and preserving for the colder months ahead. As autumn arrived, you would focus on gathering the last of the fruits and mushrooms, as well as the root vegetables that would help sustain you through the cold winter. Gobo and satoimo, taro root, would be harvested, ensuring that you had hearty foods to fill your diet when fresh vegetables were no longer available. The Ainu were keenly aware of the natural cycles of the plants around them, knowing which ones to harvest at the peak of their growth to maximize nutrition and flavor. Even as the first snow began to fall, your knowledge of seasonal foraging would guide you to the right plant. Some wild herbs and roots could still be found beneath the snow, their nutrients preserved in the frozen ground. The ability to forage through all seasons, knowing exactly when and where to find food, allowed the Ainu to live in a constant cycle of preparation and renewal, ensuring they were never caught off guard by the harshness of Hokkaido's winters. As the winter months began to settle in and the landscape turned white with snow, the Ainu's knowledge of foraging didn't end. In fact, it became even more important. The forest was not devoid of life during the colder months. Instead, it shifted its rhythm, offering different resources for those who knew where to look. Beneath the blanket of snow, certain plants and roots still thrived in the frozen earth. The Ainu, with their deep understanding of the land, knew that the cold could preserve some wild herbs and roots, making them accessible even when fresh food seemed scarce. You might walk through the snow, your breath visible in the crisp air, and find patches of yama-imo, wild yam, or miso, wild onions, their nutrient-rich roots still buried beneath the frost. These roots could be dug up and used to create hearty stews, giving you much-needed warmth and sustenance during the cold months. Certain types of pine needles could also be gathered, boiled to create teas that helped with colds and provided vitamins when fresh fruits were no longer available. Even during winter, when the rivers froze and many other food sources were hard to come by, the Ainu were able to continue gathering food. The forest still held hidden treasures that could help sustain them through the harshest months. The deep knowledge of where to find food during these bleak times was not just practical, it was a matter of survival, and it became an integral part of Ainu resilience. Throughout these seasons, there was a profound respect for the land and its ability to provide. The Ainu never rushed the harvest or foraged recklessly. They understood that taking too much at the wrong time could disturb the delicate balance of nature. When they foraged, they did so with care, ensuring that enough of the plant or root was left to regenerate, providing for future generations. This respect for the land was passed down with every generation, and it was ingrained in the very way the Ainu lived. In spring, as the earth warmed and new life began to sprout, the cycle would begin anew. The young, tender shoots of takenoko bamboo shoots and warabi, bracken fern, would once again rise from the earth, and the Ainu would harvest them, knowing that these early plants were vital after the long winter. The transition from one season to the next wasn't just a change in the weather, it was a change in the rhythm of the land, and the Ainu knew how to move with it, adapting their foraging practices to meet the changing conditions. This deep understanding of seasonal changes and the natural cycles of the land allowed the Ainu to live in harmony with the environment. They knew that in order to thrive, they must be in tune with the land's rhythms, waiting for the right moment to gather food, and ensuring that what was taken was always balanced by what was left behind. Foraging wasn't just about gathering food. It was a way of life, a sustainable practice that ensured the survival of the community through the changing seasons. As you continue your journey with the Ainu, you realize that their knowledge of the land, passed down through countless generations, was the foundation of their ability to thrive in such a harsh environment. The land was not seen as something to be conquered or dominated, but as something to be respected and understood. By living in harmony with nature, taking only what was needed, and ensuring that the land could regenerate, the Ainu were able to survive, adapt, and create a sustainable way of life that has lasted for centuries. Through seasonal foraging, the Ainu learned that survival wasn't just about enduring the harshest months. It was about thriving in a way that respected the land and allowed them to live in balance with it. This knowledge, passed down from one generation to the next, ensured that the Ainu would always have food to sustain them, even in the most difficult of times. The art of foraging wasn't just about physical skills, it was about knowledge, tradition, and the wisdom passed down from one generation to the next. As you grow older, you learn the ways of your elders. You learn the different plants by heart, their shape, their scent, their taste. You know which mushrooms are safe to eat, which berries can be eaten fresh, and which roots will nourish your body through the winter. The knowledge of seasonal foraging is embedded deeply in the Ainu culture. As a child, you would listen to the stories of your elders as they taught you the secrets of the land. This was knowledge earned through generations of living in tune with nature, learning how to gather, store, and prepare food that would sustain the community through every season. The knowledge wasn't just practical, it was a sacred bond between the Ainu and the land they called home. The passing down of foraging techniques, the deep respect for the land's abundance, and the careful preservation of its resources were central to the Ainu's survival. By living in harmony with the environment, the Ainu created a way of life that not only allowed them to survive, but to thrive in one of the most challenging climates on Earth. As you sit beside the fire, the warmth of the flames dancing across your face, you listen intently to the elders. Their voices weave stories of the land, stories that carry the wisdom of those who have lived with the forest, the rivers, and the seasons long before you were born. These stories are not just for entertainment. They are vital lessons in survival, passed down with great care to ensure that the knowledge of foraging, hunting, and living in harmony with nature endures. You are taught how to recognize the subtle signs in the landscape, the way certain flowers bloom at a specific time of year, signaling that it's the right moment to gather specific herbs. You learn how to tell the difference between edible mushrooms and poisonous ones by their smell and color, knowledge that could mean the difference between nourishment and danger. Your elders show you which berries to pick in the early summer, how to prepare them, and how to preserve them for when fresh fruit is scarce in the winter. You hear about the roots that can be harvested in autumn, the ones that provide warmth and energy during the bitter cold months. Each lesson feels like a thread in a larger tapestry, a tapestry woven from the wisdom of generations that have walked these same paths, hunted in these same forests, and lived off the same land. This deep understanding of the land's rhythms is not just knowledge, it is sacred knowledge. The Ainu see themselves as stewards of the land, not its masters. They understand that the land provides for them, but in return, they must give respect and care. By living in balance with nature, by taking only what is needed and giving back to the land, they ensure that the cycle of life continues year after year. This wisdom is deeply ingrained in every aspect of Ainu culture, from the stories shared around the fire to the careful harvesting of plants, to the spiritual rituals that accompany every hunt and foraging trip. The Ainu's approach to foraging also reflects their belief in sustainability. They don't take more than what is necessary, and they ensure that what they do take can regenerate. The plants, mushrooms, and roots they harvest are done so with respect, leaving enough behind to continue thriving for future generations. The Ainu understand that the land is a living, breathing entity, and that its resources are finite. By harvesting only what they need and leaving the rest to flourish, they maintain the delicate balance that sustains both them and the environment. As you grow older and begin to forage on your own, you understand that this is more than just a skill, it is a way of life. You're not just gathering food, you're participating in a centuries-old tradition, becoming part of a lineage of people who have thrived in one of the harshest environments on Earth. The knowledge you have gained will be passed down to the next generation, just as it was passed down to you. You take pride in knowing that you are part of something greater than yourself, a community that lives in harmony with the land, a community that understands the importance of respect, sustainability, and balance. As the seasons change and the forest offers its bounty, you feel the weight of your connection to the land. The forest, the rivers, and the mountains have provided for your ancestors, and now they provide for you. This bond is unbroken, passed down through generations, like the seeds of the plants you carefully harvest. The Ainu's way of life is one of deep respect for nature, a way of living that ensures their survival and the survival of the land for generations to come. Through foraging, the Ainu have created a sustainable lifestyle that balances the needs of the people with the health of the environment. This knowledge, passed down through generations, is the cornerstone of their survival in the harshest of climates. The ability to forage with respect and mindfulness ensures that the Ainu will continue to live in harmony with the land, thriving not just as individuals, but as a community connected to the earth, its rhythms, and its cycles. The Ainu's approach to foraging was rooted in an understanding of the natural world and their ability to live in harmony with it. Through their deep knowledge of the seasons, their careful gathering and preservation techniques, and their respect for the land and its plants, the Ainu ensured their survival in the harsh climate of Hokkaido. Their foraging practices were not just about survival, they were about sustainability, respect, and the wisdom of living in balance with the natural world. Through generations of learning and adapting to the cycles of nature, the Ainu created a way of life that allowed them to thrive and pass on their traditions for centuries to come. The Ainu's approach to foraging was not simply about surviving the harsh conditions of Hokkaido. It was a way of living that respected the land as a source of life, knowledge, and continuity. Every plant, mushroom, and root harvested was a link in a chain that connected them to their ancestors and would eventually connect them to future generations. Their foraging wasn't merely a task, it was an ongoing dialogue with nature, a recognition of the need to give back as much as they took. This deep connection to the environment permeated every aspect of Ainu life. It wasn't just the act of gathering food. It was about the reverence shown toward the land, the rituals before and after the harvest, and the understanding that they were part of something much larger than themselves. In a world where food security was never guaranteed, this relationship with the land allowed the Ainu to thrive in an otherwise inhospitable environment. The forests, rivers, and mountains of Hokkaido were not just places to survive, they were places to live, to grow, and to learn. The Ainu's ability to adapt to the changing seasons was also a key to their success. They understood that the land was always in flux, and their foraging practices reflected this awareness. In spring, when the earth thawed, they gathered fresh shoots and early vegetables. In summer, the forests and rivers provided a bounty of berries, mushrooms, and fish. In autumn, they focused on preserving the harvest, ensuring that they had enough to sustain them through the long, cold winter. Winter was a time for reflection and rest, as they used the preserved food to see them through the darkest months. This cyclical approach to foraging mirrored the Ainu's larger philosophy of sustainability. They didn't just harvest because they needed to eat, they harvested because it was part of the land's natural rhythm. By working with the land, the Ainu ensured that it would continue to provide for them as long as they respected its boundaries and worked within its limits. This respect extended to the plants and animals they harvested. Every part of the plant, every piece of meat, was used thoughtfully, with no waste, and no part was taken for granted. Generations of Ainu had honed this practice, passing down not only the knowledge of where to find food and how to preserve it, but also the philosophy behind it. The Ainu's foraging practices were as much about respect and spiritual connection as they were about physical survival. When a plant or animal was taken, it wasn't just about feeding the body, it was about sustaining the spirit and the community. The Ainu believed that every act of foraging, every harvest, was a sacred exchange between humanity and nature, one that required responsibility and gratitude. As you walk through the forest today, you may feel a sense of timelessness, knowing that the same practices and respect for nature that allowed the Ainu to survive for centuries still echo in the land around you. Their way of life, based on balance, sustainability, and respect, serves as a powerful reminder of the need to live in harmony with the world we inhabit. The knowledge and wisdom of the Ainu, passed down through generations, still holds valuable lessons for us today, lessons on how to live sustainably, how to respect the land that sustains us, and how to ensure that the natural world will continue to provide for generations to come. Through their careful foraging practices, the Ainu not only survived, they thrived, living in a way that was deeply attuned to the rhythms of nature. By passing down this knowledge and tradition, they ensured that their way of life would endure, continuing to inspire respect for nature and sustainable living for generations to come. Imagine standing in the kotan, the warmth of the fire flickering before you, surrounded by the tools that have sustained your people for generations. The Ainu were master craftsmen, creating tools from the natural resources around them: bone, stone, and wood, each one tailored for a specific purpose. You carefully shape a knife, the handle made from sturdy wood, its blade sharpened from a piece of bone or stone. This knife is not just a tool, it's essential for your survival. You use it to skin animals, cut wood, prepare food, and carve other tools. Every tool you craft is purposeful and designed to last. reflecting the Ainu's deep connection to the land and their resourcefulness. Fishing hooks are another vital tool you craft. Made from bone, shaped carefully to ensure they can catch fish with precision. The Ainu were expert fishermen, and these hooks fashioned from the bones of deer, bears, or fish were indispensable for catching the fish that would sustain your community. You also create spears and other hunting tools, using the bones of the animals you've hunted or the wood from the trees that grow around you. Every tool you make is not just functional but a piece of your culture. A tool passed down through generations that reflects the ingenuity and deep understanding of the natural world. These tools were not just items used in daily life. They were an extension of the Ainu's connection to the earth. Every object, from the smallest fishing hook to the largest spear, was crafted with care and respect, ensuring that it was both functional and durable, capable of helping the Ainu navigate the challenges of their environment. As you stand in the kotan, the fire casting flickering shadows on the walls, you feel the weight of the tools in your hands, not just in their physical form, but in the legacy they carry. These tools, each crafted with precision, reflect the deep understanding the Ainu have of their environment. With each tool you make, you're continuing a tradition that has been passed down for generations. The crafting process itself is a ritual, an act of creation that links you to your ancestors, to the land, and to the spirit of the animals that provide sustenance. Your fishing hooks, carved from bone, are designed to be light yet strong, ensuring that they can catch fish efficiently without causing damage to the ecosystem. You know that every hook must be made with care, as the fishing hooks are not just tools but a part of the balance between you and the natural world. The Ainu didn't take more than they needed. Each hook was a tool of sustenance, not of excess. The hooks you craft today will provide for tomorrow, but they will also leave room for the rivers to replenish themselves. Spears, too, are essential in your world. Using the bones of animals like deer or bears, you craft spears with sharp, durable tips, designed for hunting larger game. These spears are built for precision and effectiveness, ensuring that you can hunt with respect and honor. The bones of the animals you've hunted become more than just remnants. They are transformed into tools that allow you to continue surviving and thriving in the forest. The spears are not just weapons. They are a symbol of the Ainu's reliance on their understanding of the land. The wood used for the spear shafts is carefully chosen, strong enough to withstand the weight of a large animal but light enough for you to wield efficiently. As you carve the shafts and shape the blades, you understand that these tools are more than just functional objects. They are the physical manifestation of the Ainu's ingenuity, respect for nature, and ability to live sustainably. The design of each tool reflects the Ainu's deep knowledge of the land and their careful consideration of how best to use the resources at their disposal. These tools, passed down through generations, are not just practical necessities, they are cultural artifacts, embodiments of survival that have evolved with the Ainu way of life. In addition to tools for fishing and hunting, the Ainu crafted tools for daily living: knives for cutting wood, scraping hides, and preparing food, baskets for carrying gathered materials, and even tools for weaving clothing from animal fur. Each object you make, whether large or small, is designed with purpose. The skills you develop and pass down to your children ensure that the Ainu can continue to adapt to the ever-changing environment, using only what is necessary and never more. Each tool, from the simplest knife to the most intricately crafted spear, is a testament to the Ainu's resourcefulness and respect for the earth. These tools were made with the understanding that they must not only serve the immediate needs of survival, but also contribute to the longevity of the Ainu way of life. The craftsmanship involved in creating these tools was not just about shaping raw materials, it was about shaping a way of life that was sustainable, respectful, and deeply connected to the natural world. The tools you craft today will be used by future generations, ensuring that the Ainu's legacy of survival and respect for the environment continues. As you complete your work, you step back and admire the tools you've made. They are more than just instruments of survival. They are pieces of your culture, your history, and your spirit. Through these tools, the Ainu have been able to carve out a life in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. And as long as the knowledge, the respect, and the ingenuity of the Ainu are passed down, these tools will continue to serve as a reminder of the delicate balance between humans and nature, a balance that the Ainu have long understood and maintained. Now, imagine walking outside your kotan, the small wooden house that has been constructed with the help of your community. The cold wind bites at your skin, but inside, the warmth of the fire keeps the kotan cozy and insulated. The Ainu built their shelters from the materials around them: wood, bark, and thatch, ensuring that their homes would provide protection from the brutal cold of Hokkaido winters. The kotan was built low to the ground, with thick walls made from wooden beams and covered in layers of bark and thatch. These materials provided insulation against the cold, trapping heat inside and blocking the frigid winds from entering. The kotan was not just a place to sleep, it was a communal space where families gathered to share food, stories, and warmth. Inside, you would find tools for cooking, fishing, and working, all stored carefully to ensure they were within easy reach. The low ceilings of the kotan helped to trap the heat from the central fire, making it the warmest place in the home. The fire not only provided warmth but was also a source of light, cooking, and social connection. The kotan was designed with efficiency in mind, ensuring that every part of it served a purpose, from its compact size to its insulating materials. In this small, cozy space, the Ainu could endure the long, harsh winters, relying on their communal efforts and their knowledge of the land to ensure their survival. As you step inside the kotan, the warmth of the fire wraps around you like a protective embrace. The fire crackles in the center of the room, its orange glow dancing across the walls, casting long shadows on the floor. The hearth is not just for warmth. It's the heart of the home, where the Ainu gather to cook, to share stories, and to bond with family. The fire serves many purposes. It provides light during the long nights, heat to ward off the biting cold, and a place to prepare food, from fish caught in the rivers to roots gathered from the forest. The kotan is designed to keep the warmth in and the cold out. The thick walls made of wooden beams and layers of bark and thatch act as natural insulation. The Ainu carefully selected these materials for their ability to trap heat, ensuring that the shelter could stay warm even during the harshest winters. The walls, though simple, are sturdy and practical, reflecting the Ainu's ingenuity in using what nature provided to build a safe, sustainable home. The low ceilings of the kotan further help retain heat, creating a cozy atmosphere where everyone can gather around the fire to stay warm and comfortable. Inside, you see the tools and items that are essential for daily life. The Ainu believed in living with purpose and efficiency, and every item in the kotan had a specific function. You can spot baskets for storing dried food, wooden tools used for fishing, and small, handcrafted knives and spears. These tools, all made with the same care and precision as the kotan itself, reflect the deep connection the Ainu have to their environment. Each item is not just a tool, but an extension of the Ainu's resourcefulness and survival skills, even in the smallest of details. The kotan reflects a life built on practicality and respect for the land. The communal aspect of the kotan is what truly sets it apart. It's more than just a shelter. It's a place where family and community come together. As you sit near the fire, you listen to the elders recount stories of the past, stories of survival, of the spirits of the animals they hunt, and of the seasons that govern their lives. These stories are not just for entertainment, they are lessons passed down through generations, teaching the younger members of the community how to live in harmony with the land, how to survive in the harsh winters, and how to respect the environment that provides for them. In the kotan, the Ainu's deep sense of community is evident. Everyone works together, whether it's preparing food, repairing tools, or simply sitting together to keep warm. This sense of shared responsibility and cooperation is vital to their survival. The harsh winters of Hokkaido would be unbearable if faced alone. But within the walls of the kotan, you find strength and unity. You know that no matter how cold the world outside gets, inside the kotan, there is warmth not just from the fire, but from the bonds of family and community. As you settle into your sleeping area, perhaps a simple mat made from woven grasses or animal skins, you feel a sense of peace. The fire crackles softly as you close your eyes, knowing that the kotan will protect you from the winter cold. The kotan isn't just a shelter from the elements. It's a sanctuary, a place of shared effort, respect for the land, and the warmth of human connection. The simplicity of this space, crafted from the resources around you, reflects the Ainu's profound understanding of the natural world and their ability to create a life that is both sustainable and deeply connected to the land. Tomorrow, you'll venture back into the forests and rivers, gathering the food and resources that will sustain your community. But tonight, in the warmth of the kotan, you rest, surrounded by the tools, the stories, and the people who make your survival possible. The kotan is more than just a building. It's a reflection of the Ainu way of life. Practical, sustainable, and, above all, built on respect for the natural world. In this small, cozy space, the Ainu endure the harshest winters, ensuring that their culture, their traditions, and their way of life continue to thrive, generation after generation. As you sit by the fire, you pull on your jacket made from thick bear hide, the warmth of the fur against your skin a welcome relief from the biting cold outside. Clothing was essential for survival in the freezing temperatures of Hokkaido, and the Ainu were expert at creating garments from the furs and hides of the animals they hunted. Your jacket, crafted from the fur of a bear, is both warm and durable, designed to withstand the cold and protect you from the wind. The Ainu used the thickest furs for outer garments and lighter furs for inner layers, creating a layering system that trapped warmth while allowing for movement. In addition to outer garments, the Ainu made shoes, gloves, and hats from animal skins, ensuring that every part of their body was shielded from the extreme cold. These garments weren't just functional, they were a part of the Ainu's culture and respect for the animals they hunted. The process of making clothing from animal hides was a skilled task, one that involved careful preparation of the skin, tanning it to make it soft and pliable, and then sewing it together to create garments that would keep you warm through the coldest months. The Ainu also used other materials, such as bark, to create woven garments or accessories, adding layers of protection against the cold. Every stitch, every piece of fur was carefully crafted to ensure it would provide the warmth and durability needed to survive in the harsh conditions. The importance of clothing in the Ainu culture went beyond mere survival. It was also tied to their identity and connection to the natural world. The clothes you wear are a reflection of the animal that gave its life to keep you warm. Each garment was a symbol of respect for the animals and the land, a tribute to the spirit of the creatures that sustained the Ainu. Through their clothing, the Ainu demonstrated their profound relationship with nature, using what was available to them to create a life that was both sustainable and deeply connected to the land. As you pull the jacket tighter around your shoulders, you feel a sense of pride in the craftsmanship that went into its creation. The thick bear hide, soft yet sturdy, shields you from the biting winds outside, offering a warmth that no other material could match. Each piece of clothing you wear, whether it's your fur-lined boots, gloves, or hat, is not just a protective layer, it's a connection to the animals that have provided for you. The Ainu didn't simply wear these garments for function. They wore them as a form of respect and reverence for the creatures that sustained them. The process of turning animal hides into clothing was meticulous and time-consuming. First, the skin had to be carefully scraped clean, removing any fat or muscle tissue. Then, the hides were tanned using natural methods, often using the bark of trees like oak, which provided the tannins necessary to soften the skin. This process ensured that the hides would not only be durable, but also supple enough to wear comfortably. As you think about the countless hours spent preparing the fur, you realize that each garment is more than just a tool for survival. It is an expression of care, patience, and deep respect for nature. Once the hides were prepared, the Ainu would sew them together, using sinew from animals or plant fibers as thread. The needles were often fashioned from bone or antlers, skillfully shaped to pierce the tough skin. The stitching was done with precision, as the garments had to withstand the harsh conditions of the Hokkaido winters. Each stitch, each seam, was made with an understanding of the land's demands, ensuring that the clothing would provide warmth and protection for the long, cold months ahead. The clothing created by the Ainu was also a reflection of their identity and cultural values. The materials they used were sourced directly from the land, and every garment was a symbol of their intimate connection with the world around them. The fur of the bear, the skin of the deer, and the sinew of smaller game, each element was woven into the fabric of their lives. When you wear your fur-lined jacket, you wear a part of the land itself, a reminder of the animals that help sustain your people. This connection to the land wasn't just about survival, it was about living in balance with nature. The Ainu understood that by taking from the land, they were part of a cycle that needed to be respected. They made sure to use every part of the animal they hunted, from the fur to the bones, from the sinew to the organs, ensuring that nothing went to waste. The act of crafting clothing from animal hides was not just a functional necessity, but a spiritual practice, a way to honor the animals that gave their lives to provide warmth, food, and tools. As you walk through the snow-covered forests of Hokkaido, wearing the jacket you crafted from the bear's fur, you understand that this clothing represents more than just protection from the cold. It's a symbol of the Ainu's deep respect for the animals, a reflection of their sustainable way of life, and a testament to their ability to adapt to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Through their craftsmanship, the Ainu created a life that was not only survivable but deeply connected to the natural world, showing that every action, no matter how simple, can be a reflection of respect, wisdom, and balance. In every stitch of fur, in every piece of clothing, the Ainu's relationship with the land and its creatures is honored. Through their clothing, they didn't just stay warm, they expressed their identity, their respect for nature, and their ability to thrive in harmony with the world around them. This profound connection to the land and its animals continues to be a central part of Ainu culture, demonstrating that survival is not just about enduring harsh conditions but about living with purpose, respect, and sustainability. The Ainu's way of life was a testament to the power of harmony between humans and the environment. Their resourcefulness was not simply about making do with what they had. It was about creating a sustainable system that ensured their survival for generations. Every tool, every piece of clothing, and every shelter they built was an extension of their respect for the natural world. They understood that to live well, they needed to live in balance with the land that provided for them, never taking more than what was necessary and always giving back to it. This respect for nature wasn't just a matter of survival. It was a guiding principle that shaped the Ainu's worldview. They believed that all living things, from the smallest plant to the largest animal, had a spirit, and that spirit deserved respect. Before hunting, fishing, or foraging, the Ainu would offer prayers and thanks to the creatures and plants that provided for them. This spiritual connection was woven into their daily lives, ensuring that their relationship with nature was not only practical, but also deeply rooted in respect and reverence. As the seasons changed, the Ainu adapted their practices to match the rhythms of the land. In the spring, they would gather fresh herbs and plants. In the summer, they would fish and hunt, and in the winter, they would turn to the preserved food stored throughout the year. Their ability to live in harmony with the environment allowed them to thrive, even in the extreme cold of Hokkaido's winters. They were not simply surviving, they were living with purpose, using the land's resources in a way that sustained them for the long haul. The Ainu's deep connection to the land also allowed them to develop a sense of resilience that helped them weather not only the harshness of their environment, but also the challenges that came from external pressures. Their ability to adapt to their surroundings, while still maintaining their cultural traditions and spiritual practices, ensured their survival through difficult times. Their tools, shelters, and clothing were more than just necessities. They were reflections of the Ainu's ingenuity, creativity, and respect for the land. The kotan, their homes, were built with materials that provided warmth and protection. The clothing made from animal hides and fur was crafted with such care that it allowed them to endure the cold winters. The tools they crafted from bone, stone, and wood weren't just for hunting and fishing. They were also an expression of their deep understanding of the world around them, a demonstration of how closely they observed and respected nature. Through these practices, the Ainu not only survived, they thrived. They had learned to live in a way that was sustainable and balanced, ensuring that their way of life would continue for future generations. Their ability to live in tune with the natural world allowed them to not only survive the harshest winters, but also to create a vibrant, thriving culture that was deeply connected to the land. The legacy of the Ainu's sustainable practices and respect for nature continues to offer valuable lessons today. In a world where the environment is facing significant challenges, the Ainu's example reminds us that survival isn't just about taking from the land, it's about living in balance with it. By respecting the resources we have, using them wisely, and ensuring that they are preserved for future generations, we can create a sustainable way of life that honors the world around us, just as the Ainu did. Their ability to thrive in the harshest of climates through resourcefulness, respect, and sustainability serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of living in harmony with the natural world. The Ainu's methods of survival were not merely practical, they were deeply spiritual, rooted in their belief that humans are not separate from the natural world, but a part of it. For the Ainu, survival was not just about securing food and shelter, it was about maintaining a balanced, respectful relationship with the land, its creatures, and the environment as a whole. Every act of foraging, fishing, hunting, and shelter building was infused with a deep sense of reverence for nature. Before harvesting any resources, the Ainu would offer thanks, acknowledging that the land provided for them, but only as long as they respected its boundaries. Their survival techniques, whether it was crafting tools from bone and stone, preserving food for the harsh winter months, or building homes from wood and thatch, were designed with sustainability in mind. They only took what they needed and made sure that the land could regenerate, ensuring that their way of life could continue for generations. This approach to survival was inextricably tied to the Ainu's spiritual beliefs, with each act of survival being seen as an exchange. What was taken from nature was always given back in some way, ensuring a balanced and harmonious relationship. The respect for the animals they hunted, the plants they foraged, and the resources they used was not just practical, it was a spiritual practice, ensuring that the Ainu remained connected to the land and that the land would continue to provide for them. The Ainu's philosophy of living in harmony with nature is a timeless lesson. It reminds us that true survival doesn't come from dominating the land, but from coexisting with it in a way that respects its natural cycles. The Ainu's methods of survival, rooted in their spiritual beliefs, demonstrated that balance with nature was not only possible, but necessary for a sustainable, thriving existence. This philosophy of living in harmony with nature was reflected in every aspect of Ainu life, from their hunting techniques to the way they built their homes and crafted their tools. The Ainu didn't view nature as something to conquer or control. Instead, they saw themselves as part of a larger, interconnected web of life. They recognized that their actions had consequences, and that true survival came from understanding and respecting the land, rather than exploiting it. In their hunting practices, for example, the Ainu would offer prayers before each hunt, acknowledging the spirit of the animals they were about to hunt. This ritual wasn't just a formality. It was an expression of gratitude and respect for the animals that would provide food, clothing, and tools. The Ainu believed that by honoring the spirits of the animals, they ensured that the land would continue to provide for them in the future. They only hunted what they needed, and every part of the animal was used. Nothing went to waste. This practice ensured that the balance between humans and animals was maintained, and that the cycles of nature could continue uninterrupted. Similarly, when foraging for food, The Ainu were careful to harvest only what was needed. They knew the land's rhythms when certain berries, herbs, and mushrooms were in season, and when they should leave them to regenerate. The act of foraging was not just about gathering food for survival. It was an act of stewardship, where the Ainu recognized their role in maintaining the health of the environment. They didn't take more than what was needed, ensuring that the plants could grow back and continue to provide in the years to come. When it came to building their homes, the Ainu applied the same principles. The kotan, their traditional dwellings, were crafted from materials found in the natural world, such as wood, bark, and thatch. These materials were chosen not just for their availability, but for their sustainability. The low ceilings and thick walls of the kotan were designed to trap heat and protect from the cold, allowing the Ainu to survive even in the harshest of winters. The homes were built with an understanding of the environment's needs, and with an awareness that the materials used would need to be replenished. In all these practices, the Ainu demonstrated an understanding of the land that goes beyond mere survival. Their relationship with nature was one of mutual respect and interdependence. They didn't take more than what was necessary. They ensured that the resources they depended on would continue to be available for generations to come. This philosophy of living in balance with nature is as relevant today as it was for the Ainu. In a world where many are disconnected from the land and its natural rhythms, the Ainu's approach serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of sustainability, respect, and harmony in our relationship with the environment. Their methods of survival were not just about surviving. They were about thriving within the cycles of nature, ensuring that their way of life would continue for future generations. The Ainu's deep spiritual connection to the land, their respect for the animals and plants that sustain them, and their sustainable practices have allowed them to endure in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. In a world facing climate change, deforestation, and the depletion of natural resources, the Ainu's philosophy of living in balance with nature offers critical lessons for the future. The Ainu remind us that true survival doesn't lie in domination, but in respect and coexistence. Their approach teaches us that we can only thrive when we live in harmony with the earth, taking only what we need, and ensuring that the natural world can continue to support us for generations to come. The Ainu's survival wasn't just about enduring. It was about creating a sustainable way of life that was inextricably tied to the health of the land, the animals, and the environment that surrounded them. As we look to the future, the Ainu's wisdom offers a blueprint for living sustainably, reminding us that survival is not just about taking, it's about giving back, respecting the cycles of nature, and living in harmony with the land. The lessons learned from the Ainu's relationship with the natural world continue to offer guidance in how we can adapt to the challenges of today, ensuring that future generations inherit a world that can provide for them just as the Ainu were able to live and thrive in their own time. The Ainu's ability to survive and even thrive in one of the harshest environments on Earth speaks to the resilience and ingenuity of their culture. Living in a land with long, brutal winters, steep mountains, and a harsh, unforgiving landscape, the Ainu created a sustainable way of life that enabled them to endure through generations. Their practices were not just about meeting immediate needs. They were built on an understanding of the land and a philosophy of sustainability that allowed them to adapt, innovate, and continue in balance with nature. This resilience is what has kept Ainu culture alive, despite centuries of external pressures and threats to their way of life. From centuries of isolation to the encroachment of modernity and government policies, the Ainu have faced many challenges, yet their traditions have remained a core part of their identity. The community's survival in the face of adversity reflects not only their resourcefulness but also their deep connection to their land and culture. In today's world, the Ainu's practices and traditions offer invaluable lessons on resilience, sustainability, and living in balance with the environment. There is growing recognition of the importance of preserving Ainu culture and survival techniques, as they are an integral part of Japan's cultural heritage. Efforts are being made to protect the Ainu's rights, preserve their language, and ensure that their traditional knowledge is passed down to future generations. As the world faces environmental challenges, the Ainu's respect for the land and sustainable practices are more relevant than ever. The preservation of Ainu traditions is not just about honoring the past, it's about ensuring a sustainable future, learning from the wisdom of those who have lived in balance with nature for centuries. Their legacy is a testament to the power of cultural resilience and the importance of preserving the knowledge that allows us to thrive while maintaining a harmonious relationship with the natural world. The Ainu's survival techniques, respect for the environment, and spiritual connection to the land offer profound lessons in sustainability, adaptability, and resilience. In today's world, as we face our own environmental challenges, the Ainu's practices continue to serve as a guiding example of how to live in harmony with the earth, ensuring that future generations can enjoy the same balance and abundance. Preserving Ainu culture is not just about remembering their past. It's about securing a sustainable future for all of us. The lessons of the Ainu, how to live sustainably, respect the natural world, and adapt to challenges, offer a critical blueprint for addressing the environmental and social challenges of today. In a time when many ecosystems are under threat, and the balance between humanity and nature is increasingly fragile, the Ainu's practices remind us of the importance of living with respect for the land, using only what we need, and ensuring that future generations inherit a world that is as abundant as the one we've known. Preserving Ainu culture is not only about maintaining a connection to the past, it's about ensuring that their wisdom and way of life continue to influence how we approach the world around us. The resilience they demonstrated in the face of adversity is something that can inspire individuals and communities everywhere. Their commitment to sustainable living is not a relic of the past, but a vital set of practices that can help guide us as we navigate the complex and often uncertain challenges of the modern world. As we face the accelerating effects of climate change, biodiversity loss, and unsustainable resource use, we must look to cultures like the Ainu, who have lived sustainably for centuries, and learn from them. The Ainu's survival was built on their deep understanding of the land, their resourcefulness, and their belief in balance and reciprocity with nature. These values are more important than ever in the context of today's environmental crises. In practical terms, preserving Ainu traditions means more than just recognizing their cultural heritage. It means learning from their agricultural practices, their sustainable hunting and fishing techniques, and their respect for natural cycles. These methods, developed over generations, can offer us solutions for more sustainable living, informed by centuries of experience and insight. The Ainu's practices are a reminder that humanity's survival isn't just about technological advancement or economic growth. It's about creating a society that understands its place in the world, respects the environment, and prioritizes sustainability over exploitation. The Ainu have shown that it is possible to live in balance with the earth, to be resourceful and resilient, and to maintain a deep spiritual connection with the land and its creatures. As we move forward, the Ainu's legacy serves as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of resilience, sustainability, and respect for nature. Their way of life, forged in one of the harshest environments on Earth, offers invaluable guidance as we confront the challenges of our own time. By learning from the Ainu and preserving their traditions, we can help ensure that future generations inherit a world that continues to provide the balance and abundance that have sustained humanity for millennia. As you reflect on the Ainu's remarkable way of life, their resilience, and the lessons they've passed down through generations, you may feel a sense of peace. Their deep connection to the land, the balance they maintained with nature, and their sustainable practices offer timeless wisdom that can guide us all. Now, as you rest and prepare for the challenges of tomorrow, remember that harmony with the world around us is not just an ideal, it's a practice, one that can bring balance and peace to our lives, just as it did for the Ainu. So, as you lay down tonight, let these thoughts linger in your mind. Let the stillness of the world outside and the connection we share with nature bring you comfort and rest. Good night, and may the lessons of the Ainu guide your dreams and your waking hours toward a future that embraces sustainability, respect, and harmony with the earth. Sleep well, and may you awaken with renewed strength and purpose for the journey ahead.